Bonjour mes amis et bienvenue au Pendu dans la Lune. Hello friends. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you probably recognized from my beginning of the introduction that this is my series in which I use Tarot de Marseille or antique Italian decks to explore topics, to explore a question that came out of my larger Rider-Waite-Smith based reading around living an intentional life. And this week, the larger spread that I read is brand new, a very, very new spread, and it centers on the Tarot of the Holy Light, which I had been using for about 50 days in a daily deep dive series exploring that deck. And I love that deck so much, I just couldn't let it go. So I'm continuing using that deck for this month. And I worked out a brand new spread for my weekly readings with the help of the creator of the deck. I'm so blessed and so honored to have had her help with this. So I worked out a whole new spread. And if you haven't seen that, I highly recommend going to see that first. And I will put a card up here so that you can click on that and go over there and see that video and see why I've pulled out this question for today. And the question for today is, what is the best response if we run up against a barrier in our path, as indicated in the Seven of Wands in the Tarot of the Holy Light? That's a really long question, but that's the best I could figure out how to express it. Let me read it for you again. It's also going to be in a title, in a card. What do you call that? There will be a printed version of that question in just a moment, but let me read it for you again. What is the best response if we run up against a barrier in our path as indicated in the Seven of Wands in the Tarot of the Holy Light? Now, why am I asking that question? Well, the central card of that new spread was the Seven of Wands for me. And so I seen that Seven of Wands, and the whole spread gave us ideas about working or finding workarounds or finding ways of getting around a barrier. Now, the Tarot of the Holy Light is different from other RWS or Golden Dawn based decks. It's based on a continental tarot system, which is derived from or precipitated from the esoterica of the continent around the tarot. The continent, not England, but Spain, France, Italy, for example. And what am I trying to say? Yes, the continental tarot is different. And in the Seven of Wands in the Tarot of the Holy Light, we do get an image of the person holding their ground a little bit, but it's more of a barrier instead of an attack. In the Seven of Wands, perhaps in Pamela Coleman Smith's art, a lot of people see an attack against somebody on higher ground. This is different in the Tarot of the Holy Light. This is more of a barrier on our path. So how do we get around that was my question. I wanted to get another perspective of moving around that barrier of the Seven of Wands. So I asked the question. And let me show you the response from this week's deck. Here it is. This is a beautiful deck, isn't it? The answer is yes. This is a beautiful deck. This is the redrawing of the Jean Dodal deck by the beautiful workshop called Artisan Tarot. I've got 3 of their decks so far. I've got their beautiful little Noblet, their Convert in this my box is over there. A lovely rosewood box. I wish all of the decks came in a rosewood box like that. I would just die. The rosewood box is beautiful. I drool every time I see it. Unfortunately, I don't think they're available anymore. But moving on, so they also did a Dodola deck. They've got a Via V deck in the works, about to come out, just so you know. And there will be a link in the description box below if you want to go over to their shop and take a look at their decks. So, friends, we had this beautiful deck, and from left to right you saw the Wheel of Fortune, the Five of Wands, and the World card. The center, the Five of Wands, yet another wand card in response to a wand question. And something else that I noticed as I was reading these cards was that the Wheel of Fortune and the World echo each other. Now, the Wheel of Fortune, we've got these creatures going around a wheel that's turning on an axle. In the World card, we've got a wheel-like shape with instead of four creatures around it, but there's a figure in the center, a very humanoid figure in the center. And in this deck, a rather androgynous humanoid figure in the center. I would almost venture to say it's a he rather than a she. But we'll say that this is an androgynous figure. So, what are these cards trying to say? I'm going to read them from left to right, because that's my general direction of reading. Now, the World card is looking a little bit from right to left, which made me think, well, maybe I should read it the other way. But frankly, the World's body is also facing from left to right. So it's like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, and I decided that we're going to go left to right, because it's not a really strong indication that the spread needs to be read in the other direction, to me. So, we're going to start with the Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune, yeah? Turning around, cycles, right? Fate, chance, luck sometimes repetition of the same things. Do you ever notice that, those barriers? Those barriers can feel kind of repetitive. Oh, you're here again. Oh, another block in my path. Oh, another problem to solve. Oh, another thing to overcome. Have you ever felt that? I know I have. Is that the best response to it? That feeling of, this always happens to me? Probably not. But the Wheel of Fortune can also be change. It can also be a new departure. It can be going off in a new direction. It can be blockage. It could be a rise after a fall, or it could be a fall after a rise, too. So, in answer to this question, what is the best response? Well, first, I think we want to recognize that there are times when we're up and we're down. There are times when there is blockage, and there are times when we get around the blockage. There are times when we find a new course of action. Sometimes we feel luck. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we feel burdened. So I think this card first is reminding us to notice where we are in the cycle, to feel where we are. And then we move into the Five of Wands, which other people read differently than I do. To me, the fives are a breakout after the fours of stability. Yeah? The Four of Stability can sometimes, after time, feel restrictive, feel stuck. Squares don't move very quickly. Cubes don't move very quickly. Yeah? Circles move very nicely, but squares don't. So the four, where we get this sense of stability, everything's fine, I've got it, I'm good, I feel safe, I feel grounded, I feel established, and then nothing changes. And then things get boring, things get depressive, things get tiresome, things get, what are some other things you can think of after a long period of no change, of being stable? It's boredom sometimes, right? So we want to break out of that, and that 5 for me is that breakout. So playfulness, experimentation, taking creative risks, being willing to go in a new direction. And it's also the energy, because the wands are our libido. They're our inner power source, right? They're the fire, the inner fire. So energy to go beyond what has been known. Which is exactly what the 7 of Wands, what the rest of the spread around the 7 of Wands was reminding us that we can do, and giving us more subtle advice about that. But this is kind of echoing what my RWS-based spread was saying. Also, this is evolution toward perhaps unexpected or new potentials. It could be seeing a larger dimension, which was also indicated in that larger spread I mentioned. All of that is kind of encapsulated in this 5 of Wands for me, which makes this really interesting. And so, where do we go from this? So, we've got this. So, I recognize where I am. And since we're up against a barrier, what do I want to do? I want to first check in with self, take a moment, recognize where I am, recognize that, yes, there have been patterns, but there have been times when I've been able to break the patterns. And so I rediscover my playfulness and experimental self. I figure out a way to go beyond or around or break out of where I have been. And then we move into the world. The world is often completion, fulfillment, success. Yeah, ta-da! We've reached the end of the trumps. Yeah, I've made it. I'm there. I'm done. Where no one is ever done. Nothing is ever finished. Nothing is ever done. A cycle has completed and gotten ready to move into a new cycle, right? So it's not a finished kind of success. It's not a finished kind of completion. It's I've made it. And I've noticed that I'm at the beginning of another starting line, right? But it can also be wisdom. The figure in the middle of the World card has been through a lot of crap. And hopefully we've gained some wisdom in the process. And we've realized our potential. I've been through all of this, and I can do so many things that I don't really perhaps know that I can do. It's also the cosmic egg, right? Yeah, the World card, the figure is in the middle of a cosmic egg. Who's it who mentioned that? It might be Jodorowsky, it might have been Pendu, but a cosmic egg. What is an egg? But that 4 number that we want to break out of, right? A chicken in an egg who stays in the egg past its time is gonna die. Now the chicken needs to break out of the egg. The cosmic egg, we get ready for the next evolution inside of our eggs, but then it comes time for breaking out, and the person in the World card looks definitely ready to break out into the next evolutionary path. Maximal expansion. Yeah? Something new to be born, breaking out of that egg. And you notice in this deck, let me see if I can find it. Here it is, right here on top. In this deck, on the side, which is not in many other decks, here it says what is it? F period P period l'étranger. F period P period l'étranger. I think the translation or the full thing is fabriqué pour l'étranger. Made for foreigners, yeah, as an export card. That's the original intent. However, we are made for the foreign. We are made for going out into the unknown, for breaking out of our own comfort zones, our own countries, and moving out into the foreign, moving out into the into the étranger, into the strange, the new, the unknown, the different. And you'll notice that this Five of Wands, I mentioned, was a breaking out of the box. It can also be a breaking in. Yeah? The Five of Wands here can help us to break into the Wheel of Fortune, so that we go into the hub instead of being around and around on the outside rim, going up and down and up and down and up and down. This Five of Wands, experimentally, with our experimental visions, with our radical desires, with our going beyond what we know, we can also break into the center of this wheel and get into the hub. And what happens at the hub? At the hub, things move around the hub, but the hub doesn't move around. Now the hub, the very, very center, things turn around it, but it doesn't move so much. I mean, okay, physically it does, but we can imagine that being the case, that the hub of this wheel does not move around. It stays fixed and things move around it. Like the world. Yeah? We break into the hub of the Wheel of Fortune. We find ourselves here in this cosmic egg and ready to break out, break through, break free, move around the obstacle. Does that make sense? I think this is a wonderful 3-card reading that amazingly echoes this huge reading I did from the RWS, not only RWS, also Continental Tarot. The larger weekly spread that I've done is encapsulated in many ways in these 3 cards. Beautifully, surprisingly, amazingly. Do you agree? I'd love to hear what you think. So friends, if you're still here, hit that thumbs up button so that YouTube knows that you liked this and other people might like it as well. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and be sure to hit the alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos, because I'm not doing them every day anymore. That was for like a 50-day period. Now I'm back on my 2, maybe 3 if I do a walkthrough or something else comes up, but generally 2 videos a week. So you get notifications, hit the alarm bell, and you can share this on other platforms if you want to. Carry this out into the world. It would help me, and it might help somebody else as well. And friends, also comment below. I would love to hear from you. What do you think? What do you think of this deck? Do you have this deck? Do you want to get this deck? It's available. What do you think of the spread? Would you read these 3 cards differently? I'd love to hear from you. And friends, if you want a private reading from me, my email address will be below. Shoot me an email and we can work out a private reading. By video, by email, just by photo and voice, there are many possibilities. So friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.